adventure in Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is Pipeman here on the Adventures Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I am very excited about our next guest. Oh my God, we have a killer announcement here. First new album in 26 years. That's amazing. So let's welcome to the show Ben from Crimson Glory.
Hey, everybody.
So one thing I have to say right off the bat, the minute I started the interview, I was looking over your right shoulder and seeing that in the background. I'm like, man, that is so cool. I don't even know if I can focus on the interview. It is kind of cool. I want to get one for behind me when I do my interviews.
Yeah, why not?
Right? So I just want to say right off the bat, what makes you, after 26 years, wake up and decide, hey, let's put a new album out?
Well, I think we've really been missing it for a long time. Jeff and Dana and I, the three original guys, and we often think about the old times with Crimson Glory, and I think we've just been missing it, wanting to get back to it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Because I think about it. Even as somebody that's media, I go on tour and I do coverage of music festivals all over the US, UK, and Europe. And I couldn't imagine not doing that. Like, it's like people say to me, how do you do that? Or even my youngest daughter, I'll bring her to a festival with me one time, and it'll be like halfway through the first day of a 4-day festival. And she's like, Dad, I don't know how you do this every week. I'm already done. And I'm like, I would be depressed if I wasn't.
Yeah.
When I come home, I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I just seclude.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love the lifestyle. I love being over there in Europe in the summer and playing the festivals and meeting all the people. I mean, it's such a, metal's such a lifestyle over there, such a brotherhood.
Totally. And I just did media coverage at a festival not last week, 2 weeks ago, that I believe you played at last year, Hell's Heroes.
Yeah, that was a great one. We had a great time there in Houston.
Awesome
what? Festival.
I had so much fun at that festival. It was
too.
old school to me. Okay,
Yeah.
It was so funny because, as teenage years, I was like on the Sunset Strip and Troubadour and Country Club in LA and that whole scene, and it reminded me of that. Like, opposed to nowadays, it's very kind of different. But even the fact that, okay, so I was interviewing Tankard in the trailer, and I ended up missing a bunch of the sets for the rest of the night because we did the interview, and then after that, I was like, oh, we didn't even bring a roadies with us or anybody. Can you come take pictures up on stage with us?
Oh, I see.
And then after we're done, they're like, hey, come on back. We'll hang out. And it was like that kind of cool vibe, because that's what metal is. We're just one big family of cool people.
And they're a bunch of German beer drinkers, so that was probably a blast hanging out with them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I kept on handing them beers while we were on stage. I'm holding the camera in one hand, beer in the other.
They love their beer as much as they love their metal in Germany.
Oh, I'm telling you, that I remember during the interview, they were complaining because there wasn't enough beer in the fridge. Meanwhile, there was a fridge full of beer. And they're like, we'll be done with that before we even go on stage.
That's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. Fun times.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, too, I've listened to your latest song coming off the, brand new album. I'm like, I'm just going to be blunt. Oh, my fucking God. That brought me back to the 80s. I just felt like, oh, my God, I haven't heard music like that in a long time.
Yeah, I think people have been missing music like that.
right?
Yeah.
I find a lot of metal nowadays, the newer metal, they use like this formula. I call it an algebraic equation to make metal. And it wasn't like that back in the beginning and back in
Yeah.
the 80s, 70s, 80s. It was like, it was all experimental and all new. So even if you were within the same genre of another band, you didn't sound anything like them a lot of the times.
Yeah, true. Everybody had their own kind of style, their own identity as far as the sound of the band.
Yeah, totally. So what I want to know is I'm always in awe of artists like you that can come out all these years later and create new music. Like I think to myself, how do they keep coming up with stuff to talk about? And like there is a lot to talk about out there, but how about you? What's the difference now of trying to write a song compared to when you were a teenager trying to write a song?
Not much difference. I think we've gotten better at it over the years. We've matured a little bit, got a little smarter and wiser. So some of the topics, they grow from cooler, you know, aspects of things to write about.
And, thank God you get a little better, because if you've been doing this for most of your life, if you didn't get better, that would be a problem.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I think
I
we've progressed.
I think that is the case. I think artists even sometimes look at it differently than the fans. Like, especially if they're fans from the beginning, okay? Because the fans from the beginning, they want you to stay a garage band. I was one of those people too. There are bands I
Yeah,
saw that are huge now that I saw their first show ever, and I'm like, why aren't they like that now?
yeah,
But I could also see the other side, that why would the artist want to be like that now? Like, you mean you didn't evolve, you didn't get better at your craft, like you didn't even know what you were doing in the beginning,
yeah.
so
I
why
agree
wouldn't
with
you
you.
want it? You know?
Yeah.
S- So tell me one story, good or bad, crazy or not, in this whole musical career that you've had, that you'll never forget, that you would tell people till the day you're not here.
One story, good or bad. I remember one funny story when we played the Hammersmith Odeon in London, and it was kind of a dream of ours to play there because I remember seeing like the Michael Schenker group live from there and just other stuff like that when I was a young teen. And when we got over there and got the chance to play there, we're like, wow, we're playing the Hammersmith. So a little bit before we were going to go on stage, they said, okay, it's time to go. And we started walking from the dressing room area through all these halls to find the stage. And we just got lost in the maze of halls back there. And we just could not find the stage. We kept going down this hallway and turning around, going back, and then going this way and turn around. That's not the way. We turn around, go back, and finally, after some crazy confusion, we found the stage.
Oh my god, that is funny. And probably people are out there like, where are they?
Yeah, and this was in '87. I think when we finally came out on stage, there was one point during the stage where Midnight came over and got underneath me. I suddenly realized, I looked down and saw his head between my legs. He was underneath me on his knees and he was trying to lift me up on his shoulders to carry me around the stage, kind of like Bon Scott used to do with Angus Young. And Midnight tried to lift me up, and didn't have very much luck. He got me up a few inches, and he just gave up and back out, and just took off running across the stage. It was like a brief attempt to lift me on his shoulders that he gave up really quickly on. Because
Right?
Midnight was kind of a small guy. He wasn't the guy that was going to be carrying anybody around on his shoulders.
That's what I'm
But
saying. I'm a small dude, and I'm listening to that. I'm like, yeah, it
but
looks
something
like it's
came
pretty
over him.
cool. Yeah.
Something came over him in the spur of the excitement. He thought he would try to do it.
Oh my god. Just
So
like
that
I
was
even look at Ozzy when he used to pick up Randy Rhoads. I'm thinking now, I think of later Ozzy. I'm like,
yeah. Well,
how did he
Randy was so
do that?
tiny back then.
I know, right?
But yeah,
Exactly.
that's two funny things that happened to us on the same night.
I love it. And so tell us a little bit about the new album from your perspective as the artist.
Well, this is something going into it. We really wanted to try to touch back on the creative style of Transcendence because we know it's kind of the favorite album of most of the fans, and so we wanted to write songs that sort of reflected that the styling of it all. But again, like we talked about a minute ago, we've kind of matured, we've grown, we've progressed at what we do, so we're not exactly the same band. The album I think has a lot more of a progressive nature to it than the early two albums, and a little bit more modern sounding, more different time signatures and more different twists in the songs. But it does really capture the overall essence of I think the first and second album, more so Transcendence. So I hope the fans are happy about that. We just had a blast making this record. They're all brand new ideas we came up with in the last 3 years, and nothing's really left over from the old days, which maybe you were going to ask about that. But yeah, everything's pretty fresh, you
I
know,
love it.
very fresh within 3 years. Jeff Lords wrote a lot of the songs, a lot of the music, and I co-wrote a couple of the songs, came up with some riffs and parts for some of the songs. And Travis was a big writer on the record, lyrics and melodies as well. So
That was the question. That was the question I was going to ask is like,
yeah,
what do you think has changed for creating this new music by having Travis and Mark in the band now? Like I always think that when you have that kind of transformation that there's going to be some new things added to the artillery, you know?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Travis is a really good writer, and that's a plus, because Jeff writes lyrics, Dana writes lyrics, I write some, but I mean, having a singer that can really write and come up with some great melodies and lyrics, that's a big plus. And Travis can do that. He's great at it. And Midnight was great at that. And obviously there's only one Midnight. There will
Yeah.
only ever be one. But Travis came into this with a kind of a fresh approach, and did some really cool, interesting, original things, as well as tipping the hat to Midnight a little bit here and there with some stylistic nuances. And then
Yeah.
talking about Mark, I mean, he's just a great fit for the band as well. He's a great player in his own right. John Drenning was fantastic, but Mark comes in with something different, a little unique to himself. And he created and wrote all his own solos for the record. He's a very creative guy.
Well, and I got to say too, like, okay, what you said about Travis, I think it's important when a singer writes the lyrics because there's a different emotion that comes from it. You're not
Hmm.
singing somebody else's feelings, you're singing your own.
Yeah, I agree.
And I do have to say too, like that was the other thing I was going to ask is, man, how I can't even conceive of how after midnight how you could possibly find such an awesome vocalist like Travis. Because I'll tell you what, that listening to him sing, I was like, oh my God, I don't even know anybody that can sing like that anymore.
Yeah, well, we certainly got lucky in finding Travis. He's a very unique and talented individual, so it's sure a blessing to have him with us.
Is there anything you want the listeners to know? Like, what would you want me to ask you? What would your answer be like that you want the listeners to know?
Well, I don't know. I never really think about the questions, what they should be towards me. But no, I just want the listeners to know that we really did strive to make a new Crimson Glory album that would make the fans happy, because we've always had such a long time connection with our fans, and they're so passionate about the band's music that the last thing we wanted to do was put out anything that would disappoint them. So we really, strive to make this record something that the fans would really get into. Of course, with an artist, any artist, you really have to please yourself before anybody else. So we write to please ourselves.
Yeah.
And but if we can do that, if we know we've written something that we think is good, then we're pretty sure everyone else is going to love it too.
I love what you just said because I'm a huge believer in that, and that shows you're a true musician. That right there, because true musicians write for themselves, and then
Yeah,
they attract their tribe,
yeah,
not the
yeah.
other way around.
Exactly. We want our fans to be really in love with the music, but we don't sit down and say, "Well, let's write a song. What do you think they would like?" I mean, no, we have to write what we think is great, what we like.
Totally,
Yeah.
100%. And you guys got a bunch of tour dates starting in May, and
Mhm.
oh my God, like how honored are you after all these years to be playing Vakken? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a call you always want to get.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm very honored. Yeah, it's been a dream of mine to play that festival. We've played a lot of cool festivals over the years, but it's always been a dream to play Vakken. So the fact that we got invited this year is just totally awesome for all of us. We can't wait to be there.
And all your other dates, they're all in like some of my favorite places and some great festivals, and like
Yeah.
Alcatraz. That's a festival that you guys fit right into perfectly.
Yeah. And we played that one back in 2012 with Todd Latore. It's a very cool festival.
Nice. Well,
Belgium, yeah.
I love that you have new music. It's badass. It's so killer that you're still around, and I thank you for being on the Adventures of Pipe Man.
Right on. Thank you for having me. Great talking with you today.
My pleasure.
Hi, this is Ben Jackson of Crimson Glory, and you're listening to The Pipe Man on W4CY Radio.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipe Man on W4CY Radio.